What's up, everybody? This is Danny with a garage apart. We are just getting ready to get started on this little install, setting up our tools and our parts right now. The first thing we're going to do is this white line polyurethane, transmission mount. That's basically just supposed to firm up our shifts. The dude at Steeda suggested that if you want to minimize NVH, to drill a hole in the middle right here, which I'm thinking about doing because hey, less NVH would be awesome, and I really don't think that would compromise the stiffness that that's going to give us. As usual, the instructions that are supplied are not that helpful, but they're pretty straightforward, so don't anticipate much problem with that. Looks like it's just going to be 4 bolts, and then you got to hammer it in there. The little bit more complicated part is the Steeda differential, bushing differential lockout kit. Basically, again, I wish they had some included instructions, but if you dig online, I actually found a link to the Steeda instructions through the Summit Racing website. But just some things I'd figure out. Basically, when you open up this package, there's 2 different bushings, and they actually, if you look closely, they have 2 different numbers on them. One ends in a 2.5 and the other one ends in a 2.1. The 2.5s look like they're going to be for the front differential mounts. And the 2.5s are going to look like they're going to be for the back. Now the cool thing about the Steeda kit is if you get the whole kit, you get different hardness of the polyurethane bushings. These are the stiffer ones, these are the softer ones. This is a street car, so we're going to go with the softer ones. I don't know what these are for. Those look a little bit different. I don't know if that's just not for my application or what. I do know that this was also for non-GT cars, the same part number, so I don't know. I can't really find where I would be using those, so hopefully those aren't just forgotten parts. But in addition to that, so today I'm only going to be installing the rear mounts, so we're going to put these aside just because with the Lethal Performance bolt upgrade kit that I'm going to be using today, which you'll see already mounted on here, you have to permanently drill out the front of the differential mounts on the car. And I don't even know if I'm going to keep these because a lot of people on the forums say that there's too much NVH. So I'm just going to do a trial run by installing the rears only with the Lethal Performance bolt upgrade kit and see how I like it, see if it's doable for me. And if it's not, then I'll just put everything back to stock and sell these secondhand. And if I like it, then I'll go ahead and jack up the car again and install the front ones. And apparently the front ones are supposed to be a gigantic pain in the ass. So just in case you're wondering about the Lethal Performance upgrade kit, basically, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but what that does for you is it gets rid of all the gap that you'll have in between without the upgrade kit. You have the stock Steeda bolts going in, and they have all this slop. And there's a lot of videos and a lot of people on the forums saying that these bushing inserts kind of fail them, especially in high-powered cars. So supposedly, Lethal Performance made this upgrade kit where, as you can see, there's a lot less slop in there. Get my fat hand out of the way. There's a lot less slop in there. Not nearly, there's still a little bit, but not nearly as much with the Steeda bolts. And additionally, there's this spacer that's supposed to, again, take the shearing force off of the bolt and just basically tighten everything up. These are also just like grade 72 bolts. I know there's no such thing, but they're basically the highest grade bolts you can. They're a pain in the ass because they're Allen head. Had to get the properly sized Allen socket for that. But thought it'd be a smart investment. Definitely when we go Whipple, don't want these things coming apart and blowing up my rear end or sacrificing my axles. So with that, we're going to jack up the car and get to it. Always take your time with jacking up a car. You don't want to die. Alright guys, so we're underneath the car, and while it always looks super easy on video, I'll tell you right now, doing these differential inserts are going to be a pain in the ass. The instructions say you got to drop the back of the rear cradle a little bit, which is a little bit of a procedure since I have all these BMR parts on here. But we'll see if we actually have to do that or not. But yeah, those bolts look super easy to get to on video. They are not. So I just wanted to show this, but got the first bolt out on the passenger side. And actually, if the light will adjust a little bit, there we go. Those bushings look very nice. But I'm kind of surprised they're so nice because it deflects so much, but we'll see if this helps. Looks like I just ruined my U-joint. It's Harbor Freight for you. So if you're going to do this, you want to use a medium extension with a short 18 on the end. That's probably the best route to go. So we're going to lube up before entry here on this side. Yeah, those Lethal Performance upgrade sleeves fit like a glove. I'll show you real quick. That's the sleeve sitting in there, so there's just no slop. Going to be no slop in between for that bolt to move around at all. So that's a good job, Lethal Performance. I like it. Should have brought a rag under here with me. But yeah, just lubing these up a bit because if you know anything about polyurethane, they squeak like crazy. I'm trying to have nice cars, not shit boxes. I don't know why, but I'm having some trouble getting this bolt started. Looks like I might have to actually drop the cradle. Okay, just a little update. I had to pull out the bushing real quick. Couldn't get it threaded. I'm just trying to see why it won't start. But I ended up having to loosen up the cradle a good bit at all 4 bolts. Hopefully I don't have to drop it anymore, but see why this bolt isn't threading in. And upon closer inspection of the stock bushings, they are pretty cracked up. So, okay, so I see this is threading in. Maybe we just need a little bit of lube, a little bit of love. So, full disclosure, I actually was trying to put in the wrong bolts. Ha! Gay! So here it is. The correct bolts. That's the stock bolt right there. And then, hey, those are the same length out of the Lethal Performance bolt upgrade kit. Now, the bolts I was trying to put in were these ones. So those are significantly longer. So those are very obviously the wrong bolts. I think what's holding me up is the fact that if you look at the stock one right here, it has this nice little point, and these don't. So that's what's making it kind of difficult to center up on whatever that on the threads in the differential. So we're gonna keep at it. But took a little break. Looks like I might have to drop the cradle a little bit more. I've been trying to avoid that because I'm lazy, but we'll see how that goes. So it's getting a little dark, but you got the passenger side in. Looks nice and pretty. I just got to torque that down. The instructions say to do one side at a time. So now we're going to jump over to this one. It has all these hoses in the way. But I'll take a crack at it. I have the cradle hanging by 3 bolts right now, but got the floor jack here for safety. So we'll see how the second one goes. Hooray, Harbor Freight. Broken new joint. Kinda gonna need that though. See if we can't piece it back together. Finally got it out. Now that would have taken 5 minutes. If we had a not Harbor Freight universal joint, that would have withstood the impact. But we don't. That's just how we do at a garage apart. And if you're a backyard mechanic, sometimes you just gotta make do with what you got. So same procedure here. Make sure we put the right bolt in this time. Lever up. WD-40 for the sleeve. Put that guy in there. Take our energy suspension lithium grease. There we go. So a democratic amount of grease, get it? We don't want to be liberal, do we? But that's what she looks like. Back with my torque wrench. The cool thing about this torque wrench is that it's actually my dad's. He's been using to torque things down since flat bottom boat racing in the 60s, so it's a little bit beat. Who knows if it's even accurate, but again, this is how we do it at a garage apart. So the instructions say 129 foot-pounds. So that's what we shall do. That's 120, 129. Go. Alright, it's pretty difficult to leverage 129 foot-pounds when you're laying on the ground and you're not standing up, huh? By the way, I'll show you something. Something I picked up on a long time ago, a couple of busted knuckles later. Whenever you're tightening something down like this and it has a dangerous slipping and slamming your knuckles into something hard like this exhaust hanger right here, just push with the open palm. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you might hyperextend your fingers a little bit instead of busting your knuckles and getting all bloody. Nice. Beautiful. So that's our bushings installed. Again, we're only going to do the rears today, but they're installed, they're greased, they're torqued down. Just got to install reinstall and retighten the cradle bolts. Torque those, I forgot about that. I'm turn the camera off for now. And all right, everybody, we just got done installing those rear polyurethane diff bushings, the rears only. And we installed the energy suspension polyurethane transmission mount. And we're gonna give it a test drive, see how everything feels. Hopefully, the added NVH doesn't make me want to jump off a bridge. Definitely a lot more clunky in the rear end. Remember, there was a review saying I can hear what my rear end is thinking. I'm kind of seeing what they were talking about. So far, it's not too bad. It's just when you let off, and there's always a little bit of slop regardless of what kind of car you have. It seems like any car that I've had, when you let off, there's a little bit of slop in the driveline that unloads and unloads like if you suddenly let off. Now there's less of that, but when you do experience that, it's a little bit louder and sounds more clunky. But we're on up to 25 miles an hour right now, and it's tolerable. We're gonna get on the freeway in a minute and see how it is. Definitely nice to feel a lot less of that rear end moving around. Get on the freeway in a second. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but there's always a little bit of a oh shit moment when you just had your car apart. For instance, we just had the entire rear cradle unbolted, and right before you get on the freeway and you're about to hit 60 or 70 miles an hour, you go, did I tighten that bolt? I don't know. What was the torque spec on that again? I guess it's in God's hands now. But the cool thing is, when it works out and you don't die, it's a big sense of pride you get. And that's, I don't know about you, but that's a big reason why we do this, right? Definitely a little bit more vibration coming through the entire car at idle. Again, I'm not going to be a wuss about that, but... And leave comments down below. I have a performance pack. I always take off in second gear. First gear is way too low on these cars. I only use first gear if I'm on a hill or if I'm trying to do a drag launch. But even then, it's like you let the clutch out and then it's time to shift. So the cool thing is, right off the takeoff, you can kind of hear the rear end go whoop, like it's a straight cut gear or something. But it's tolerable. I mean, I have no problems with this at all. It's just kind of janky. I can tell moving around in traffic and stuff. If you have a girl that doesn't know what's up in the car and is clunking around and you're going from first to second, or second to third, and stop and go traffic, it's going to be a little clunky, and she's going to be like, what's wrong with your car? Just look at her and be like, it's a race car, shut up. Or, I mean, don't say that. Don't ever tell a girl to shut up, that's terrible. But you might have some explaining to do. And it'll be a little embarrassing, but that's okay. Get a girl that understands. Just stays way more settled. Part just wanted to give a little bit more of a comprehensive review and takeaways from this install. So last night did a couple test drives, pretty quick test drive. There's always like that placebo effect of, hey, I'm excited that I got new parts and kind of the new experience, and so it kind of tends to, influence your judgment, usually for the positive. So I just wanted to give a full review on this. Remember, I just have the rear ones installed. Super great upgrade. The car is way more planted. The big plus is confidence. I feel like I can really drive this car now. especially at high speeds, totally legal speeds. But where it's kind of, you know, because of the lack of rear end deflection, where I was kind of not that confident in passing cars before, maybe I have to let off and my car is going to veer right a little bit, or my car is going to veer left a little bit. Just to, you know, it's not a good thing to have the car, you know, being a little bit unpredictable at high speeds. So that's pretty much taken care of. Additionally, it's a little bit easier to drive. I can't really explain why, in terms of just there's less slop in the drive line. So I can feel there's less movement in the rear from the second I start letting the clutch out until it's out. And for some reason, it just makes it easier to judge where the sweet spot is in the clutch. So that's nice. Another positive is the sound. It sounds really cool. It really does. When you take off, it makes a little like race car sound, like whoop. And another positive is that the car doesn't squat anymore, which makes sense if you know anything about pinion angles and stuff like that, but I won't get into that. But basically the car squats less, where before when I would jump on it, it would kind of squat and go. I remember that was one of my first impressions of this car. It's like, dang, it doesn't feel like it's going to pop a wheelie, obviously, but like there's a lot of weight transfer happening there. So now it doesn't do that as much. It squats a little bit, but then it goes, it squats, call it a normal amount. So mostly the overall positive is that just the car feels more solid. Now the negatives, definitely more NVH. And I'll explain the ways in which the different brands of NVH that we have. So on the test drive, I kind of noted, last night I noted that, hey, it's actually more noticeable. You know, the new noises are more noticeable at slow speeds. And so upon driving it a little bit more, if you make a tight turn, it's very noticeable. So you get that whoop sound along with, it sounds just like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like rocks, but it sounds like metal parts turning in metal parts. It doesn't sound bad, it's just noticeable. You probably hear it some through the microphone. So basically you want to just be aware that, hey, when I'm making tight turns, this is going to be a little bit noisy. And even when you're making not tight turns. But that makes sense if you think about it, because really that's when the differential is actually doing work. You know, the posi unit is locking and unlocking. One axle is spinning faster than the other one, and everything like that. Another negative is the vibration, obviously. You're going to get a lot more, or I'm getting a lot more vibration through the entire car when the clutch is out. That's fine with me. Again, it makes it feel more direct. It makes it feel more connected to the car, which I love. It may not be for you if this is going to be your daily driver, because it can get exhausting. That low pitched noise and vibration through the entire car, like muffler drone or something like that, can get exhausting, especially if you're going on long road trips and stuff like that. Beyond that, the vibration, you've never had a solid mount car or anything, just something to be aware of. I've had to do this on previous cars that I've had with solid engine mounts and stuff like that. If you have something that's vibrating, for instance, like a piece of dash trim or maybe a seat, anything like that, it's going to vibrate more now. So it's a little bit more motivation to get in there, take those things apart, and actually figure out how to make them stop vibrating. One disclaimer I will say, the NVH is tolerable for me for the amount that I drive this car. I neglected to mention that when I first got this car, the rear end was so noisy because the diff fluid hadn't been changed that I actually installed kill mat all along the trunk and even underneath the rear seats, and even underneath the rear seats here. So my takeaway from this kill mat in my car is going to be probably a little bit different than somebody else who doesn't have some soundproofing in their car. So that's a big asterisk right there. But beyond all that, I like the Steeda diff mounts. I like the Steeda poly diff mounts. think they're a good upgrade. You got to pay to play, man. You're going to take a sacrifice however you do it. And for right now, it makes sense for me. So that's my final takeaways of this install. I hope you found something in this video helpful. And please like and subscribe down below. And